4, 3, 2.
Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Jeff with Junior Hockey Advisor. Hope everybody's having a good night tonight. It's Sunday night. It's time to talk hockey. I've got my cup of coffee, and I'm ready to answer any questions you have on the process of hockey, junior hockey, youth to junior, junior to college. I got a couple topics in my bag to pull out if we need to have a little fodder or filler while questions are coming in. This is that time of year where, I shouldn't say that. Last year, this time of year, I thought we'd fall off the planet when we got into May. I mean, right now, there's only two junior teams or two junior leagues left with playoffs. Everybody else is done. Many of the U18 playoffs are over with, so we're in a part of that year where literally there's not much hockey going on. Lots of people have wrapped up for the year, and they're looking on to other things. However, there's still the folks out there that are either just diehard hockey fans or they're looking for information on tryouts and main camps and draft camps and showcases. And that's what we're here for, to keep the ball rolling on any information on the process. Remember, we're here about the process. My name is Jeff Colson. I am not a family advisor. We talk about the process here. I've been doing this for over 35 years. And I only reiterate this, not for the loyal people that are out there, but for our new audience. Master certified coach. I've been an NCAA division coach, Division III coach. I've been a owner of numerous levels of junior hockey teams, general manager, coach, and have coached at the youth level for years and years and years. This is a great time of year. Just got back into town. Just rolled back in from State College, PA. I was just thrilled to death. My wife and I got a chance. We weren't sure we were going to get a chance to see it happen, but we got a chance to see our daughter graduate from Penn State with a law degree. So our daughter is the second lawyer in the family, and we're glad to have her on board with her new law degree. And so we're pretty happy about that, and we're pretty happy to get things rolling with her new career and wherever that takes her. So I thought it was going to be a little bit wacky out there when we went down there, but honestly, it rolled out pretty smoothly. It was almost like a real graduation ceremony. We still had to sit in little pods, and there was still a lot of references to the current state, but almost back to normal. So it's good to see. So anyway, this is about hockey. Let's get back to you and discussions. So a couple things. I just had a couple topics while we're rolling. Remember, as you jump on, we'll talk about a lot of things, but the biggest thing to talk about tonight is whatever you have on your mind. So if you have questions, put them on the comments. We'll get to the comments, and we'll scroll through the questions. If you've got comments, put the comments on there, and we'll DM on the comments too, or we'll get to the comments. You can DM to me too. I'm all over the board because I'm trying to read 2 or 3 different places. As you know, we shoot this live stream out to numerous sites at the same time. So although your site might show that there's only 14, 18 people on one, 20-something people over here, another site might have 40 people on it, and I'm trying to get notes from all the different places coming in. So anyway, let's say hi to some people, then we'll get to a couple things I got to talk about, and then we'll get on to any questions you've got. So who do we have that's on so far tonight? Mark's on. Good to see you, Mark. Brandon is on from Amherst, Mass. Keith's on in San Diego. Dave's on in Parker. Dave, our long-standing member. Good to see you back on, Dave. I know you came on last week, but Dave, you were kind of a jinx at the end of the show there. We kind of fragmented and couldn't get the stream pulled back on. So good to see Dave there. Toronto's on. Mark is in New Hampshire. I said hi to Mark a little bit earlier, but he's in New Hampshire there. Pittsburgh, PA's on. I'm not sure who that is. You didn't put who it is on. Andy's on in Knoxville. Riverside's on. Perry, good to see you in Nassau. Hey, thanks for the congratulations on Maggie's graduation. I'll throw a picture up on my Facebook page, not on the discussion group, but I'll throw a picture up on the Facebook. I did put a picture up on the Facebook page, so if you're friends with me, you'll see the picture. It's a wonderful picture of her graduation. Vince is on in Ossining, New York. Vince, I know you've been on before, and I don't know if I've asked you where Ossining's at, but I sure would like to know where that's at. And if you already told me, just Send me a virtual slap in the face for not remembering where it's at. And we got Hungry on. I would absolutely love to know. It only shows up as Facebook, who you are in Hungary, and a little bit about that. Northern Ontario is on again. Once again, I can't see who you are on that one because you're coming in from one of our streams that doesn't show the names. It just says Facebook user. In fact, this is what it looks like on the screen for whoever's in Northern Ontario. But Northern Ontario could that could be anything. That could be Barrie. That could be Sudbury. Where you at? Give me a little bit more detail. Where you're closer to? I'd love to know. Okay, first question is there. I'm going to wait to that a little bit before we get to the questions. A topic I wanted to talk about. There's a few topics I want to get to, but the one that was really kind of just, I don't want to say it's irritating, but there's a social presence from some advisors out there right now, and God bless you. If you're an advisor and you're trying to drum up business, that's great. You know that we don't allow advisors to solicit on our discussion groups or our Facebook pages or on this broadcast. We try to keep it so we're here and balanced. We know that we've got literally hundreds of advisors that are part of our discussion group, and most of the part, they're wonderful. They give you input, they give you some insight, and remember, a lot of advisors wear 2 or 3 different hats. A lot of them still coach either youth at the 16 or 18 level. Some of them are involved as player development people for junior programs. Some of them have their own hockey camps or hockey schools. And so they wear a lot of different hats. So I don't begrudge any advisor from making a living. That's what they're there for. And for the most part, God bless you, most advisors are out there doing a good job. But there's something that's a little bit aggravating going on right now, and I just want to mention it because it's kind of just pushing a little bit borderline and taking advantage of people. There's advisors out there right now that are offering that if you sign up with them for $250 or so, right around there, and send them your information, they'll evaluate your video and email blast coaches. Whew. Okay, how do I even want to start on this one? This one is okay. First of all, I kind of want to say, if you want to spend $250 to have somebody shoot an email out, send your $250 to me and I'll send the email out. But the bottom line is, you're not going to gain anything from a generic email blast, no matter where it comes from, and you're much better off having that email blast come from your player with his name on it. Okay, remember, and any good advisor will tell you this too, advisors are built on trust. If an advisor is willing to take your money and just blast out an email, that means he's sending the email out to coaches without building trust in you or that team that you're a right fit for that team. You can email blast anybody you want. You can send out those emails. You can contact programs. Be very cognizant of the fact that there are advisors out there that are polarizing the industry. They polarize the teams they work with. Nobody wants to get a generic email from an advisor about a player that hasn't been fully vetted, okay? Now, if an advisor fully represents you, has done the homework on you, you've interviewed with him, he's been out to watch you play, he's been out to watch you practice, maybe he had some clinics that you attended where he was there on the ice with you, whatever that relationship is, now he recommends you to a team or recommends a team to take you into their camp or even to tender you or to play you or whatever the case may be. That's different, okay? That is absolutely different. I'm talking about anybody that's out there trying to make a living off of just flat out soliciting to take anybody's money to watch your video and send out a email for you. Be careful. Just be careful. Okay? Is it right for you? I can tell you this. I see no reason for anybody to take advantage of a situation like that when you can easily email coaches yourself and not have to worry about a middleman, not have to worry about their reputation tarnishing you, either good or bad. Okay, realize it's a flip of a coin. They get these emails coming in from advisors that haven't fully vetted their players. Watching your video once and sending out an email is not fully vetting a player. So if an advisor is doing that and offering that to you, just be very careful. Just be very careful. I would recommend you look elsewhere. There's better ways to spend your $250. You can get a lot of Grubhub meals delivered to your hotel room when you're playing tournaments for $250. You can pay for a showcase weekend Okay, you can pay for a main camp. You can get a hold of those teams yourself and reach out to teams with your own video before you pay that. So if you see that, and just be careful. Just be careful. That's all I can say. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying make sure you know what you're stepping into before you get into that. And I hope that reaches the ears of the people in our group that have been solicited by this in the last little bit here. So that's really the biggest message I had tonight. Is I really wanted to make sure I got that across. I think that's extremely important, and I want to leave the rest of the time for you, and we'll talk a little bit. First, Vince, thank you so much. Right on the Hudson River, north of the Tappan Zee Bridge. Okay, I get where you're at. Actually, my wife and I, pre-pandemic, right? Well, actually, right when the pandemic opened, we went to visit the governor's mansion up on the Hudson, north of the bridge there, and we actually got the chance to go into the little town where the Sleepy Hollow. And we spent the night in the hotel in Sleepy Hollow, and then went over and toured the Rockefeller Mansion, the old governor's mansion right there on the river. And I'm sure you know where it's at, Vince. Beautiful area. And first time I'd been in New York City, hundreds of times. And we spent a lot of time in New York City, but I've never actually went up north on the river a little bit and spent some time out north. And it was the first time we did, and actually enjoyed it. I'd like to know how close you are to that area. I'm sure it's only a few minutes away from where you're at. So, okay. You're right, Rod Timmons. I do once in a while forget who I or what I say. I get busy on this show, and I'll ask a question that I don't even follow up to get it right. So thank you so much for letting me know you're in the Cochrane area of northern Ontario. So let's get a couple questions going here. I see a few coming in. Once again, you got a question, throw it up on the discussion board. I'll throw it up as I can get to them. We have an open night. I did not come in with a lot of news. What's the news? The news is that the USHL playoffs are still going on. Hasn't changed from last week. I think they're in Game 3 now. I think it's tied 1-1. And the North American Hockey League finished their regular season. They start their first round of playoffs. As you know, there's 4 divisions. There's the East, there's the Midwest, there's the South, and then there's the Midwest North. I'm not sure exactly what there's 4. There's one in the North Dakota, Wisconsin area. Then there's one that's in the Central Midwest, and then the East, and then the Southwest. So they each get 4 teams. They play those 4 play down to 1 team. So it'll be 2 rounds in each of their divisions. Then the top 4 teams will move on, and they'll play in Blaine, Minnesota, mid-June. So that's all that's left right now. There's not much hockey going on except for showcases, pre-draft skates, and everybody getting ready for the drafts. I know the NCDC held their draft last week. We'll take a look at that draft next week. Didn't have a lot of time this week to actually analyze that, but remember that draft has a little less significance than until the USHL draft comes out. USHL draft comes out and we get those done, signed, sealed, and delivered. If anybody's watched any of my videos, you know where the NOLV draft fits. The NOLV draft comes into play, but the NOLV draft is a protective draft, meaning that draft is they'll protect a few players just in case they leave the BCHL. They'll protect a few players, or they'll gain the rights of a few players from the BCHL in case they leave that league. They'll gain their rights to a few USHL players in case they leave that league. And then they'll do the same thing with the CJHL. They'll draft certain players from other leagues in the CJHL just in case they come down. But the real damage with for where their players come from in the North American Hockey League is through the tender process. Since each team gets 10, roughly 10. I'm not sure what the rules are this year with the pandemic on what their number is going to be, but the number's a high number, and that also excludes, there's I don't know what they're going to do with the new teams coming in, or teams that were shelved, if they're going to give them an opportunity to do a supplemental draft, or so there's a lot of things going on there. But really, the NOLV draft plays a secondary position to their tender positions. They're really focused on getting all their tenders taken care of first, then the draft comes into play. We'll look at the NCDC draft, the NOLV draft, and the USHL draft as they come up. We'll break those all down for you in the next few weeks as that all happens. So besides that, not much hockey going on. Let's get to our questions. Let's see what's on the board here. I just saw one here. Okay. First one, and these are live questions. I'm not screening these. What does the selling of a team mean for the players that were on or were supposed to go to the team? Are the kids in limbo without a tender or a pending tender? Oh, that's an awesome question. And, most likely you're talking about a situation like that's happening with the team up in Wisconsin right now in the North American Hockey League. Ownership changes usually, remember, there is no real protection year to year with a player anyway. You have to come back and make a team year after year. Now, you're still the rights of a team until otherwise said. So when you come into main camp, you can lose your spot and not be invited to the fall roster, but you come into main camp from the year before protected by that team, along with any players that are tendered and any players that have been drafted. So all those players come in with with some protection that they're in that organization. Now, as soon as main camp is over, all bets are off for draft picks. All bets are off for tenders, and all bets are off for players that are not invited back, veteran players that are not invited to the fall team. So the best way to look at that is you have a home unless you up until main camp. Now, if you have conversations with other teams outside of that league, for this example, we're using the North American Hockey League, and you decide you want to go to the NCDC or the BCHL or the OJHL, let's say you pick another league and you want to go to, you're free to go anywhere and strike an agreement with any league outside of the North American Hockey League. You have to have permission to talk to another North American Hockey League team before you go to their main camp or before you skate with them or even have a conversation with them. So in the case of a team, playing inside the USA Hockey rules. Now, we're not talking about USPHL because they play under their own set of rules. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I could answer exactly. I'm sure there are rules in place that are very similar, but I don't know what those rules are, and I don't have those in front of me. I can tell you this, though. If I were on the Chippewa team right now, and I know there's a new ownership coming in and a new coach coming in, I would assume that I wouldn't assume. I would clearly be reaching out to the new coach and find out what the status is and doing my homework first, and then reading the leaves on the reading on the writing on the wall. If he says I'm not promising anything, that tells you something. If he says, hey, look, I plan on keeping any of my veteran players, or any program is going to go through a transition. Some coaches want to come in with a whole new slate of players. Some coaches want to build off of what they already have. Odessa just went through this last year with a complete new hockey staff when they brought in their whole new staff, and they retained maybe 8 or 9 of the prior players off of the last place team. They immediately cut 3 right at the beginning of the year in the fall. And then the older players, as soon as the younger players started getting their sea legs, now they're still a last place team this year, but when their younger players, there were skilled players, started getting their sea legs, they actually traded off their older veterans to teams that were going to make a playoff run. So that's not uncommon either. I would say right now, if you're expecting a tender and you got a tender, you show up expecting good things. If not, if the team is giving you a little bit of a cold shoulder or brush off, that's a good indication that the new coach isn't going the same direction you want to go, and I'd keep that in mind. So I hope that helps. That's a tough question to give an exact answer to, but that's the best I can do on that one. I hope that helps a little bit. Let's see what else we got. Okay. Here's a great question. Why is the ACHL looked down upon? It is solid hockey, and for many kids, the academic scholarships available are often 50% of the tuition. So I don't really know if I agree with you that ACHA hockey is looked down upon. There's some great ACHA hockey programs on there, and we've talked ACHA hockey. When we did our marathon a few months ago, we spent a whole hour on ACHA hockey, and I had Michael Hermbrat, who played with me, and who is an ACHA coach for the outstanding program in Illinois that he runs. Didn't get the sense that that's the case. I don't get the sense that that's the case. There's a lot of respect for me and anything that's said around here about it. But let's also keep in mind that what ACHA is, at its best, ACHA has been known at Penn State, ASU, Lindenwood, to be a stepping stone to Division I hockey. Now remember, there's 500 plus, maybe 600 ACHA teams out there right now, okay? And once every several years, a team makes the jump to Division I, okay? Lindenwood's in the process. It'll be the year after next before that happens. ASU did it, and that was several years ago now, 3-4 years ago now. Before that, it was 3, 4, 5 years before that. Penn State did it. So we're talking virtually a very, very small fraction of teams play at that level. And every time anybody says how great ACHA hockey is, they always point to those examples. Hey, Lindenwood stacked, but Lindenwood stacked for a reason, because they're going to become a Division I program. Sans the Lindenwoods and a couple other teams that are just powerhouse teams, the rest of the teams are built off of players that are not in the Division I or the Division III ranks. Now, the argument is made from time to time, well, this team can beat any Division III team. That's just not a true statement, okay? Anybody that knows hockey and how much time and effort is put into the Division III ranks and where the Division III players are coming from, the level of players that are pulled into the Division III ranks, I mean, remember, still the probably 30% of the North American Hockey League will end up going into the Division III ranks, and probably an extraordinarily high number will go into the Division III ranks this year because of the fact of COVID. The portal is jammed with players. We're over 240, 250 players in the portal for NCAA Division I transfers between teams. That's a new issue that's never been that a big of an issue before. You've got players that have an extra year of eligibility now that have been thrown on. And when you have that extra year of eligibility, that's who's going to affect all the kids that are coming out this year. Because if you can keep your senior defensive core, your senior goalie wants to stick around one more year, and you don't have to bring in a freshman, you're going to keep your senior goalie for one more year, and then you'll worry about replacing him the year after. Which means that kid that's a 2000 coming out right now out of juniors, he's left holding the bag. So you're seeing the top echelon of Division III programs that are just going to be chock full of Division I talent across the board. You're already seeing it. We'll talk about that even in more depth. We talked about it a little bit, but I can't say that ACHA doesn't get the respect they deserve, though. The top of ACHA plays great hockey. That's the Division I and Division II levels. They play phenomenal hockey. But it's still club hockey. Part-time coaching, part-time practicing, large rosters. It's pay-to-play hockey, and you're practicing 1 to 3 times a week, and it's usually flexible on your practice schedule because academics are first, and literally academics are first in most of your ACHA programs. Meaning, there is no adjustment. There's no changing things around. So anyway, that's the way it is. I have a lot of respect for it. Even back in the 80s when I was playing, we scrimmaged a few of the ACHA teams. They were chock full of talent. They were great teams, and honestly caught us off guard because we thought we were playing a club team and thought, oh boy, we'll let our guard down. Put a few guys in the roster that shouldn't have been in the roster for a competitive game, and we really struggled with some of the teams that were this is back when Arizona State ran a ACHA team in the 80s and in the late 80s, and they were extremely good even then. The little known fact, they're still playing in the same rink that only holds about 250 people until their new stadium is built. They're still playing in the same rink as a Division I team as they played 30 years ago as a club team. So anyway, I don't see the disrespect across the board. You're absolutely right. You can get money, and you can get money in many, many different ways that you can't get at the NCAA level. I've had players in the past from our lower junior level teams. When we ran 2 junior teams out of the same building, our lower team would get some ACHA commitments or ACHA offers. Long Island, who now is a Division I team, used to offer 50%, right off the bat, off the tuition, and could do it because they weren't playing by NCAA rules. They were able to just give these large grants to players, and they could do that literally with 8-10 players that were coming in from our program. They would just come in the locker room and say, here's what we can do for you. Now, that's still a large ticket for some people, even with 50% off, but you're right. There is a lot more flexibility on the tuition and what they can do there. So I'm a big fan of ACHA. Remember, with 500 or 600 teams, there's going to be a lot of players that come out of Tier 3 that still go to play ACHA. And the cool thing about ACHA is if you like Penn State, you can still play ACHA. If you like the University of Michigan and you can't play on the big boys, you can still play ACHA and wear the same jersey and same helmet. If you want to go to school in some exotic area, you want to play in Florida, you want to play in Kentucky, you want to play in Montana, California, there's ACHA programs in every state almost. I would venture to say there's very few states that don't run some kind of ACHA hockey with their college programs. So you can play anywhere, which is kind of cool. You'd be able to go and play, and you can follow your dream of the degree you want or the school you want to go to, more so than having to be a slave to. Face it, only 60-something teams at the Division I level, 80, 90 programs at the Division III level. You're a slave to where those programs are at and what they can offer you. So just keep that in mind. That's something to think about on the ACHA side. So let me see what else I got out here on the board as far as questions. Give me a second here. Okay, let's go with this one here. Just a comment that came in. It says, I would take the $250 and have a professional edit your footage like Jeff says and market yourself. Nobody will work harder for you than you and your family. That's an absolute great statement. Don't know exactly who that came in from. It just came in from Facebook user because one of our feeds won't show us who it comes in from. So let's see here. Here's another one here. Let's go with this. Brett says, I was referring more to the parents, players, and AAA coaches. My son decided to I'm sorry, that's a little bit of the conversation going on back and forth between people on the board. So, okay, here's what Mr. Weaver had to say. This is coming from one of the best billet families, not only in the state of Texas, not only in the United States, not only in North America, but in the world. Okay, the Weaver family. So James Weaver says, and when James speaks, I'm going to listen. He also has a really nice motorcycle that I'd like to steal one of these days. Financially, I've heard some of the families that struggle to have a kid play juniors. Do teams have a way to help offset costs? I know some billet families that will work around things and won't charge monthly fees. And is this something that parents should bring up with a team prior to sending their kids? Okay, great question. And, clearly there's always times when things happen with a family that can't afford things. Now, if you're playing Tier 1 or Tier 2, you're not paying for your hockey anyway. So you're getting free at the USHL level, BCHL, and some of the AJ teams, you don't pay for tuition or billeting. So that's nice. In the North American Hockey League, your hockey's free, but you're paying for your billeting, and that can be anywhere from $300 to $500 a month. Yeah, you can always ask, and technically the rule is if a team offers you a discount, they have to offer that discount to anybody across the board. So teams that control their billeting process, meaning if you're writing the check to the team and they actually go ahead and pay the billet family themselves, then that team is open to that rule to keep themselves eligible, for, NCAA compliant. If they offer a kid a free month, they got to offer every kid a free month. Now, that's not the reality. Most teams, the way they get around that is you strike a deal straight with the billet family. And if you're working directly, if the player, meaning you, the player's family, if you're working directly with the billet family and the billet family is collecting from you and the billet family says, hey, I know it's a tough month, or I know your family's you're struggling a little bit, hey, don't worry about this month. That's between the family and the player. But remember, if you're sending a check directly to the team, the junior team, and the junior team disperses the money out to the billet families, There's a different set of rules for that situation, and legally they have to offer the discount to every single player if they offer a discount to your player. So be very careful with that. I would say this, though. Any junior player that's getting free tuition and only has to worry about a billet fee, even the player that is taking a college class online should be able to pick up a DoorDash job or pick up a job for 2 hours a day at the pro shop, or doing something at the rink, or working somewhere for 5 to 10 hours a week. 10 hours a week is $100, and if you knock off $100 4 weeks in a row, you're covered your billet fee. So it is very doable. There's a lot of junior players that work, even if they're getting tuition-free hockey. I know that almost virtually every billet that stayed in our house over the years, I shouldn't say that, probably 75% of the billets that stayed in our house had some type of job on the side. They work at the pro shop, they do private lessons, they do something to try to offset a little bit, and I think that's a good thing. It builds a little character in those cases. So I hope that helps a little bit on that end. I don't really have a ton of questions coming in right now, and I'm not really sure I want to force the issue tonight, because I want to make sure that when we come back next week with more news on playoffs, and we got some more news as we move into the draft season, and we've got some topics that are topical, we can get and drive some. So I'll hang around here for a little bit. If you do have some questions, toss them on the board. I'm going to look here and see if anything else has come in. Dave, also respond to your DM. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I did see that you shot a DM in. ACHA question, whoever sent that, and let me know if I answered that the way you wanted me to answer that. If you need more detail on that, I'll be glad to do that. Lots of comments on all the different boards, but doesn't look like we've got many other questions coming in. I just want to remind you too, the way things work right now, and this is a wacky year, but if you're in the D1 realm right now and you're a player or a parent or a family that's in the D1 world, this is the time to be extremely, extremely careful. What you're seeing is a lot of backloading. There's one team right now that has 5 or 6 graduating players, and they have 18 commits for this upcoming season. They've done this almost every year. I'm not gonna blow this team out. You can do your own homework on. There's only 60 teams. You can pretty much figure it out pretty quickly if you want to do the homework on this. And I've actually put a video out on how to use Elite Prospects to do this, to find out how many prospects a team has for the next year. But there's a team that has 18 kids committed. 18 kids committed, and there's only 6 spots opening up. Now you can say, oh, they're going to keep those kids. No. You're not understanding. Year after year, they get these huge amount of commitments. They verbally commit to these kids, and then they back out of the deal at the last second on these kids. Somewhere between February and June, they'll back out on these kids, and these kids don't get the opportunity to go to the school that they thought. They're back in the system, and it hits them like a ton of bricks. It's not something that, once again, I'm not going to blow this team out. You can do your homework on this, but keep in mind it happens. Teams will overload drastically, and some of the names of some of the teams you do it, you'd think that the ethics and the honor code or the integrity of the school and the program name would hinder that or would slow that down. It doesn't. So you got to be extremely careful with that, and be extremely careful when you're looking at this. So that's one thing you have to do, is do your homework back 2, 3, 4, 5 years. See how many kids they keep on their current roster every year. You can do that with USCHO.com. You can go and see how many kids actually play on every team. Then you go in and you look at Elite Prospects, and all you have to do is pull up the roster on Elite Prospects. I've got a video out there. You can pull it back up on YouTube if you want. It's got a yellow button on it, and it says, these are the 3 of the websites you need to use. I've also done a lot of stuff on it. I think there's even one just strictly on Elite Prospects. Watch that video, It shows you how to toggle the years off their roster, which is pretty simple on the top. Just toggle up to the next year. So if you're looking at the current year roster, toggle the next year. Don't go back in the history. Toggle the next year roster and pull that roster up and look. It'll show you all their commitments, all the kids that have verbally committed to that school because they were offered a spot by the coaching staff. So when you've got 18 kids out there that expect to play there, they're not there, and most of these kids are playing in the North American Hockey League. Virtually all of them are playing in the North American Hockey League right now. Bad things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. These kids are going to be left holding the bag on the side of the road when they thought they were going to be going to a prestigious school. So keep that in mind. That's important. And the other part of it, switching gears now, leave that one alone now. Remember, if you're still out there playing Tier 3 and you don't have a commitment yet, don't give up. I got a video out there. You can pull it up on this website or you can pull it up on YouTube. It talks about being, still in the game your last year in juniors and you don't have a commitment yet, what to do. And remember, for a lot of Division III programs, it's between now and the next 2 to 3 months before they settle out on their whole rosters. The reason is it's a trickle-down effect. You'll get all the D1s that are still finishing off all their little touches. Then you get the elite D3s start filling all their holes. Then it just moves down into the ranks of the rest of the D3 schools. So the other thing too is you don't always see all the D3 commits. And the reason I say that you don't see all the D3 commits is because a lot of D3 commits, especially good quality players that are still playing in the USHL, BCHL, playing in the North American Hockey League, maybe even in the NCDC. These kids they're really good players because of this pandemic have agreements with their D3 programs. Hey, look, I'm committed to you, and the D3 program will say, that's fine, we're glad you're committed to us. We understand we're not going to roll the commitment out until you get exhausted all your D1 avenues. And the better D3 programs, because they're looking for that kid that's that on-the-fence D1 kid, they'll take advantage of that situation, and they'll not announce their school until the last second, and then they'll do it after the fact. They want to make sure that they've exhausted all their D1 opportunities across the board. So hopefully that makes sense to you. All right, let's see if we got anything. I saw a couple things come in. We'll just make sure I didn't miss anything, and then we'll call our wraps if we have to. We don't have to go a whole hour here. My son was invited to the Chowder Cup. He is an 05, so is it worth attending? Thoughts? Okay, my thoughts are always the same on these across the board. There's two schools of thought. People think, oh my gosh, these showcases, they're money grabs. You're too young. It's not a good opportunity. Wait to it's a marathon. This is not a marathon, folks. If you've had any kids go through it that are older and this is your second one, you realize it flies by. You got to grab every opportunity, seize every opportunity. The Chowder Cup's a phenomenal opportunity, even as an 05. Remember, when you're talking about the North American Hockey League and you're talking about the BCHL, you're talking about the quality junior programs that are non-Tier 3, you're not going to play as an 05 this year. You're talking about rarely is an 02 seeing a lot of ice time in the North American Hockey League. Very few 03s made any game presence at all. I've actually went through these before on other live streams where we actually pull up the rosters and I show you the whole league and show you it. But there's a ton of reason you should be as an 05 skating in the Chowder Cup. First of all, it's a great fun. It's a great city. It's a great time, and it's good hockey. And you get a chance to be around some good players. You get to see the best because the best will be there. The best players will be playing in this showcase. So you get a chance to see some great players. Yes, you'll get exposure, but you'll also get to be in front of whoever's putting your team together that invited you, and you get a chance to talk to other people that are from these other teams too. It's a phenomenal chance to get yourself networked, get involved, be proactive as a parent, as a player. Talk to people, talk to the parents, talk to coaches, talk to the people that run the organization that are sitting at the tables. Buy that cup of coffee, sit down with somebody. Absolutely a great opportunity as an 05 to get involved, because next year, now you go into this thing and you skate through the whole weekend. You get the lay of the land. You see who's good, you see who's not good, you see who's organized, you see who's not organized. You see where you want to be for the next year. And, okay, if we come back, I want to be with that group or that group or that group. Or I want to be with my team again. It doesn't matter. I mean, you make your choice. I'm not trying to tell you which way to go on this. However, it's a great opportunity to get the lay of the land, get that experience. Anytime you can skate in showcases, anytime you can skate in main camps, anytime you can skate in a tryout environment, do it. Get that experience. Get the experience so that when it counts, that you're prepared for it. That's why. Okay, soapbox time. That's why when you're a young player, 8, 9, 10 years old, why it's important to play games just as much as practices. You know why? Because in practice, when there's 8 seconds left on the clock, and you've got to get it inside the blue line and get the puck on net and have somebody crashing the net, it doesn't mean much in practice. When there's an overtime game in a tournament, and you're out there playing 3-on-3 and you got to make a good play, that doesn't mean the same thing in practice. That pressure, that excitement, that adrenaline, and that ability to have that experience under your belt starting at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old carries over all the way through pro. Okay, a kid that can handle the pressure and understands the pressure early on is absolutely going to have a better opportunity when he gets the tryouts, when he gets the juniors, because he understands what pressure is about and the pressure lessons. So my personal opinion on this is jump into that Chowder Cup with both feet and enjoy the experience. If you can afford it and you've got the time, take advantage of it. It's there and it's a good opportunity and it's fun. And when you're down there, get some chowder, have some Guinness, have a good time, enjoy it. It'll be a good experience. That's the way I look at it. So, let's see what else we got. Okay, I talked somebody into something. I'll have to go back and see what my notes are on what I talked you into. I'm thinking I'm probably talked you into the Chowder Cup. Yep, that's it, Lewis. I'm glad I talked you into it. So, unless there's anything else, this is it for the night. I'm glad we came on for a little bit tonight. Once again, I was late coming back in. We came in from Pennsylvania for my daughter's graduation ceremony at Penn State. So next week, we'll jump back into it. Next week, we'll get into some real topics about the drafts, how to prepare yourselves for the pluses and minuses of what happened in the drafts. We'll talk about any showcase preps you got to worry about. We'll talk about the playoffs and anything else you want. Remember, you can always DM me your questions. I'll save them for the next week unless they're urgent. You can always go on to CoachTube.com for some of our webinars. You can go on to YouTube for Junior Hockey Advisor, and we've got all of our YouTube videos up there playing right now. You can go to JuniorHockeyAdvisor.com. There's some readable materials there. There's some downloadable stuff. There's some free content there. And, of course, you can always get into our Junior Hockey Advisor discussion group and ask away, because the group is awesome and they are extremely good at answering questions for new people coming on board. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate everything. And if there's any questions that come in late, I'll be glad to jump on them later. Have a great week, guys. Enjoy the hockey. Take advantage of your Hockey TV subscription, because Hockey TV will have all the games, USHL and North American Hockey League games. It'll be a great week to watch some hockey. And have a great night. Take care, everybody.